What is up, everybody? Welcome to TerrorCrave. I am Jason. This is Lee, and back by demonic demand is Alice, because Alice just needed to be back.
She did. I missed you, Alice. I want to say that out front here at the very beginning. I'm so glad to see you back, my friend. And Jason, how are you as well?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's a good day. There's some good new horror movies getting ready to come out. Another series getting ready to come out, and I'm pretty excited about it. I know you've probably heard about American Horror Stories, and I'm pretty thrilled about that, man, because I love American Horror Story. All of the seasons, I love them all, man.
Yeah, I do too, actually. I remember when it very first came out, Ryan Murphy did it, and he was the guy behind like Glee and a couple other shows. And I was like, American Horror Story, this guy's doing that. And I watched the first season, and I've been hooked ever since. It's been great. And you mentioned American Horror Stories. The cool thing about that is it's a spinoff of American Horror Story. We all know American Horror Story is an anthology, season-long anthology where it started off with each season not supposed to be connecting to each other, totally different stories. But as it's gone on, we all know now, people who are watching it, that it all takes place in the same world, basically. You know what I mean? So there's
Yeah.
different relatives, long lost relatives and stuff. But American Horror Stories is going to be an episodic show, an anthology, kind of like the Twilight Zone or Black Mirror, where each episode just, it's a beginning, middle, and end all in one episode. So I think that's going to be great, not having to worry about ongoing storylines and just being able to tell one solid hour long
Yeah.
story.
I also agree that, just I liked the Twilight Zone, and I liked like Tales from the Crypt, stuff like that, different little stories each week or whatever. And I too, when American Horror Story first talked about coming out, I was like, I hope this is good, because I like horror stuff. But it was on FX, and FX is borderline of, maybe should be on, more like HBO or Cinemax.
They've
But
pushed the boundaries for sure. They've got
yeah,
the lines have been crossed.
yes, they have that, and I
Yeah.
do believe that was the first time that I heard somebody drop the F bomb on like what I considered a cable channel.
Right.
Because at that time I thought of FX of the same as TBS, TNT, USA, but it is not like those channels at all. I mean, like the sex stuff is almost Skinemax, like late night Skinemax stuff, and just the language that's in it, man.
My first experience with that was when I was watching a show on FX called Nip Tuck, which was the other show I was trying to think of that Ryan Murphy did, which actually had a nice little serial killer storyline in that show for a season as well. So maybe that's where he got his whole idea of doing this horror stuff.
Maybe.
But no, it was, to your point, I remember watching Nip Tuck and being out. I was like, which is this on HBO? Because
Yeah,
their sex got a little gratuitous. You know what I mean? It was a lot. They pushed the boundaries, and that was, I mean, I'm going years back now on Nip Tuck,
yeah,
early 2000s. So I mean, what they were pushing then, think about where we are almost 20, I hate to say it, almost 20 years later. You know what I mean? Just it's gotten even, I mean, crazier. Like I said, the lines have definitely been crossed. Just blurred lines.
I remember there was a, which one was it Terminus, when the Walking Dead, when they first went to Terminus, and they had them
Yes,
all up in the
the box
train
cars.
cars. Yeah.
Yep.
And they were standing there, and at the end of that, it was supposed to be something like, I remember he says they don't know who they're messing with. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember that Andrew Lincoln said he wanted to say they don't know who they're fucking with.
Yep.
And because what at that time AMC didn't want to cross that line, and you'll hear like shit every once in a while on there now, and they drop that, and I'm getting used to that almost on every channel now. But the F bomb had only been dropped on FX, and I guess what he was saying is, if they can do it there, then why can't we do it here? But you'll notice too that Walking Dead comes on at 9 o'clock. American Horror Story always came on at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So there must be some difference in that 1 hour that they could say stuff like that or show stuff.
Now, I totally remember that story you're talking about, and he definitely did, because it was like, come on, guys, as much as we're showing here, it makes sense for Rick to be dropping the F bomb here. But I think in the years since, I mean, because we're almost going back, what, that was like season three or three
Yeah,
of
that was way
Walking
back.
Dead. So I'm, if I'm not mistaken, I think now, maybe I'm wrong, but I think Negan has dropped at least an F bomb. You know what I
I'm
mean?
pretty sure and he
Yeah,
has to anyway. He should be, if you're going by the comics,
yeah,
Negan, all he did was cuss. And I
oh
know
yeah,
that he says stuff when it first when they first introduced Negan into the story, a lot of people who read the comics were mad because his language wasn't what it was in the comics. And they're like,
right,
come on, man, you gotta let and I did see it was kind of like maybe with Negan's characters when they started throwing in a little bit more language,
right.
trying to brighten it up a little bit more with his language, because that's where a lot of his little sayings were just like funny as anything, because they were supposed to be curse words, but he was just throwing out anything to
Yeah,
put in. And yeah, I think they've I'm pretty sure he dropped the F-bomb on there, and I was like, ooh,
I know,
go
right?
ahead, Negan.
Finally. No, but
Yeah,
yeah, but
finally.
I mean that was, I mean, we're going like what, we're in season 11 now or 12 or something, or
Yeah,
yeah, so I mean like, many years have passed. So the lot, as we get more and more people are, and now the cable networks are having to compete with streaming
yeah,
channels,
yeah,
the multiple streaming channels, Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, not really Disney Plus, I guess. I mean, they're competing with it, but not worried about the pushing the
right,
boundaries, you know what I mean, that these other channels or other streaming channels can do,
yeah,
so they're trying to, it's like they've got their hands tied, and
right.
they can't tell. Now that you have to use colorful language to be creative, but it does restrict you. And in some ways, maybe it helps you go be more creative in a better way. But still, if you're telling an adult story, it's good to have those adult themes or adult
Sure.
language in it.
Well, if you're like me and you like your horror movies as realistic as possible, you're not gonna some guy's coming to kill you and you're not gonna say, oh shoot. You know what I mean? You're just not gonna,
Right.
come on, be realistic. But I guess while we're kind of touching on that, let's touch on something that you and I both enjoy, especially over the past 10 years. I've seen a whole lot more of them, is horror themed uh TV series. And
Yes.
because they didn't used to, like, Tales from the Crypt when we were growing up, that was pretty much it, man, as far as scary type stuff. The Crypt Keeper was the man. You didn't see a
Yeah.
lot back then. And the
No, you did.
X-Files was about as scary as it could get.
Yeah, but even then, that came out in '93. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
mean, that was. I mean, it's been a while, but when we were, I mean, I keep saying things that are aging us up in the show, Jason. But when we were growing up, to your point, it was really Tales from the Crypt, and that was on HBO, so that was allowed to be a little bit
oh,
more
well,
colorful.
yeah, so
You
that
know what I
almost
mean?
doesn't count though, because it
Yeah,
wasn't a TV series, what we're
right. But
calling
but
a
but a lot of
basic
people saw it.
cable.
A lot of people saw they re-aired them, I believe, on
Yes,
Fox later on at night, like on Saturdays and Sundays or something like that. So
yeah,
they were edited. You know what I mean? They weren't
sure,
allowed to show what they did. I mean, Tales from the Crypt, I believe, had nudity and all that kind of stuff in
oh
it
yeah,
at
yeah,
times. So they were edited for sure. But still probably a little bit more pushing the content more than they were. But that was like in the '80s and stuff. And then, but
yeah,
we also had Tales from the Dark Side, which was more on a regular network channel.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And then you mentioned Tales, the many iterations of Twilight Zone. We've had like what, I think each decade has had their own Twilight Zone that's tried to. We had obviously the one that came out in the '60s or '70s with Rod Serling, and then we had the '80s one that came on CBS,
yeah,
ran for a couple seasons.
yeah.
And then in the '90s, we had to have one in the '90s. Is that the Forrest Whitaker? Or no, it was the, maybe we didn't have one in the '90s on television, but then there was a Forrest Whitaker hosted one on UPN that
I love
came
Forrest
out.
Whitaker, just
Yeah,
to say that. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, he was the host of that. He did a good job, and I think that lasted maybe two seasons. But there wasn't, you go back to what you originally said. There wasn't a lot of places to find horror
no,
at that point in time, except on the
yeah,
big screen. And as I said that, I realized, wait a minute, Lee, you're forgetting a big one, two actually.
yeah.
Friday the 13th, the series.
Oh yeah, yeah. And
And
Freddy's Nightmares.
yes, that was the next one I was
Ah,
gonna. As soon as I was saying that's all we had, I was like, oh wait, it just dawned on me
I
there were actually
actually,
two.
yeah, I actually forgot about that. And as soon as you said Friday the 13th, the series, which was nothing like the Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah, but I still enjoyed it though.
I did too. I did too. It
Yeah.
was like, it was kind of like, there was another show that came out not too awful long ago that was kind of like that, where it was just stories from this. Oh, was that a thrift shop, a museum? I think it was like a thrift shop type place or something, wasn't it?
Oh, see,
And
now you got me now. I don't know. I thought you were going to say Warehouse 13. I thought you were talking about
well,
that. 'Cause that's
yeah, that's the one I like that too. I'll just say that I like
that.
Warehouse 13.
Oh,
Yeah,
you did? Okay, that was
yeah,
good. Yeah, that was
yeah,
more. I enjoyed it as well. That was more of a sci-fi
sure,
adventure
yeah,
comedy. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But that's kind of. I thought you were going there with collecting the artifacts and taking them back. Kind of
yeah.
that was kind of what. But I'm curious.
Well, the Friday the 13th wasn't that they were in something like that, and like the objects that were in this thrift store or
They had an
wherever it was.
uncle. They had an uncle who made a pact with the devil, and then I think he tried to go back on it or something like that. And
Uh,
then the objects were all cursed, and so they had somehow been bought. So then Ryan, cousins Ryan, and oh my gosh, I wasn't prepared to talk about this, but I'm now I am. The cousins Ryan and the other girl with the red hair, they went and somehow
yeah,
inherited the thrift shop, and it was them and their other older guy, and they would go on each episode and collect these
yeah,
different cursed objects. And
yeah,
I really that came on late at night on Fox as well. It was like on a Friday or Saturday night, or maybe even a Sunday night at like 10 or 11, like 11 o'clock. It came on late, for
yeah.
where we grew up at least,
Hmm.
it was syndicated. But no, that was awesome. I really enjoyed that. Even though, to your point, it was done by the creators of Friday the 13th, or the studio that owned Friday the 13th,
Yeah,
the movies, but had nothing to do with Jason Voorhees.
right, right. But Freddy's Nightmares or whatever was hosted by,
Well, Freddy Krueger himself. Yes,
yeah, man, and that was cool.
yeah,
That was
that
cool.
was cool. And they actually had episodes that dealt with, most of the episodes were just him as the host telling a horrific story.
Yeah,
But there
yeah.
were one or two that actually dealt with Freddy Krueger.
Well, they
There was
probably
one.
had to, because I don't know. I guess it didn't do as well because it didn't last long.
It lasted maybe a year, maybe 2 years at the most. And then, but like I said, there was an episode that specifically dealt with. It was almost like a prequel to Nightmare on Elm Street. It showed exactly how Freddy got caught, and then
Oh, that
parents
would be
going
cool.
to. I actually, yeah, it used to run, and I didn't see it this episode when it originally came on, but years ago, it came on the Chiller channel, I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah.
It came on like they would have like marathons on different things during the day, and I was homesick one day, and I caught it. And I was like, I was like Freddy's Nightmares, and I caught a couple episodes, and I caught that specific one that told like the story. It had the actor, Robert England.
Robert England.
Robert England was playing him and all. So it was really cool to see, But yeah, no, that was a really, really. I totally forgot about those two shows until just now.
I
But they were really
I've
good.
never seen any of those episodes of Freddy's Nightmares. I
Oh,
guess
you
it
never
just
did?
no, I guess it just wasn't on when I whatever channels I had, or I don't know. I didn't find out about them till later and it had been
Oh,
canceled,
okay.
but maybe I'll get a chance to go back and check them out. But what would you say if you had to if you were going to say if you were going to sit down and say I watched these series were great. Like I mentioned American Horror Story, every season I loved, man, and some people didn't. There were a couple of them that weren't as good as the other ones, but they were still good, man. But the first one, like Murder House, dude, that
Yeah.
was scary, man. Especially like you
Yes.
get the dude that's dressed in leather, and
Hmm.
and that was scary, man. And then you get into my favorite. Oh gosh, I really liked Asylum because that was scary.
That was season two.
Yeah,
I knew you were gonna like the. I loved. I thought Murder House was great. They almost lost me on Asylum only because it was not because it wasn't scary. It was, and it got under my skin and it stayed with me. But there was so much. As you guys have known, if you listen to the show, I'm not a body horror fan. I'm
it
just not that. Those they disturb me.
was gory,
Yeah, and it's
gory.
just they experimented on people, and they were just
Yeah,
doing some horrific, terrible things. And I remember just feeling a little, but I pushed through, persevered, and then they gave me Coven, and it was lighter, and I
Coven's
enjoyed it.
cool. I liked Coven. I like the witchcraft stuff, man.
They
But
found a lot more comedy involved in that one, yeah.
yeah,
Then they almost lost me again with Freak Show.
no, 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 man.
Yeah.
Because Twisty. Look, now I
That,
will say that I think that was season 4, right? Funhouse,
It was Freak Show.
Freak Show, yeah.
Yeah,
So they almost lost me on that one, not because I didn't enjoy it, but they killed off Twisty, in my opinion, way too soon, man. Like he was
right.
gone in like the 4th episode or 5th episode at the most. And to me, as far as that series went at that time, he was the scariest of all of their people, their
Right.
characters up until that point. and they killed him off because I remember like his first shot, and I was like, oh my god, man. And they killed him off, but they did like show more of him during the season,
They did.
like how he got that way, all that. But dude, Twisty is in my forest of fear. That's a, they got to be good if they're in my forest of fear. And that dude was just,
No, he definitely made a splash. And you bring up his first scene, and I remember watching his first scene. And again, when I say Freak Show almost lost me, it wasn't because it wasn't doing its job. It almost lost me because again, they came with the body horror and all this stuff, the mutilations and things like that. But the scene of Twisty, the clown you're talking about, I remember that couple laying in the field, hanging out, just enjoying a picnic. And if I'm ever somewhere with my wife and this crazy looking clown comes up out of nowhere in the field and it's just us around and slowly walks up to us, I'm not going to sit there and wait for him to do
no,
whatever he's going to do. But they
no.
did. They did the classic horror trope. But I remember the girl running and he just chased her down. And that was just that whole tracking shot, the way they did it
Yeah,
and
that's what
filmed
I
it.
was going to say. The camera shot was,
I didn't mean to steal your thunder, brother. I'm sorry. But yeah,
no.
it was really good. It was really well done. And I thought that was awesome as well. And then they got back with the body horror and stuff.
Yeah.
But
And I liked all the seasons. And the election, was that what it was called? The election?
Cult,
Yeah, the cult. That was,
American Horror Story Cult.
yeah, it wasn't bad. It had a decent story, but it's probably one of my least favorite seasons. But I enjoyed all of them. I liked Hotel. A lot of people didn't like that just because Lady Gaga was in it, but damn, dude, she did a damn good job in Hotel.
She really did, actually. I thought she did. And I think that's what people were probably in the very beginning. I think as the season went on, she probably won them over because she did
Yeah,
a really good job. But when first people heard that she was going to be on there, because remember, everybody had been accustomed to having Jessica Lange.
yeah,
She was positioned to be like, Jessica Lange was always the main
yeah,
character. I mean,
bad
it was an
lady.
ensemble show, but
Yeah,
she was kind of the main. And so like Lady Gaga, for better or worse, was positioned as taking over Jessica Lange's not role because every role was different, but you know what I mean,
yeah,
just taking her place, I guess. And
yeah.
I think that was probably a lot. It was the first season without Jessica Lange. It was a bit of a transition and things like that.
But didn't Lady Gaga win some kind of award for her
It
role in that?
She won Best Actress, Golden Globe,
Yeah,
Best Actress.
yeah, I
She
thought
totally
so,
did.
man.
Yep.
Because I was one of those people. I can be honest with you. I was one of those people that, Jessica Lange's not coming back, and yeah, that was what it was. But I understand why she wanted to take a season off, or you don't want to get typecast. But to me, she was just a bigger part of that as of any of the other normal
Yeah.
actors that were in it, or regular actors, I should say. And when they mentioned Lady Gaga, I was like, oh, come on, man, because I'm not a pop fan anyway.
What?
And I didn't, you didn't know that?
I am shocked.
No, man. Uh, but when they mentioned that she was going to be in it, I was like, well, here we go. Now let's just take this great series that it's been so far and start adding in these people just because they're popular. We don't
Right.
even know if she could act,
Yeah.
but she kicked ass in it, and then went on to do that other movie with what's his name, the singing movie or whatever. But
Oh my God, why can't I think of that? Born to be a Star, something like
or
that, or
Born Storm. I don't know. It has those two
Star is
words in it.
Born. A Star is
Yeah.
Born. A star,
I knew it had those two words in there somewhere.
yeah.
Yeah, and she did great in that too, man.
Yeah, she
But
did.
and I thought, it's fine for her to stay in it now. She could have stayed in them,
Oh,
and I thought it was fine.
yeah. No, I agree. No, I mean, and so they've gone on, and now we're at what, 11th season of American Horror Story,
Yeah,
and now we've got the spinoff. So I mean, it's still riding, going hard. My personal favorites of American Horror Story were 1984. I thought that
yeah,
was good because of the callback. It was a very Friday the 13th reminiscent. A lot of the
yes,
80s
very
slasher
good.
movies also. And then the other one was Roanoke.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that one. I know a lot of people were kind of like taken aback because it was different. It was being told almost, the first part of it was told almost like a documentary. You
yeah,
know, and they were having
I
the talking heads talk and all that stuff.
yeah.
But take a house and set it in the woods. That's the great atmospheric horror film for me. It,
I,
it played on all of my fears, my particular fears of
yeah,
things, being in the woods in a house all by yourself and things.
I did enjoy Roanoke too, but and I love the way that that was the first year when they started talking about what it was going to be. You had no clue. Before that, it was like you almost found out what Asylum was. You knew it was going to be based on Asylum. Then the next one was, based on Coven or whatever. But that was like the first time they were doing all these little cryptic things. They were showing a bunch of different scenes, and they're like, "We're not going to tell you what it is until it starts." And then
Yep.
right before it starts, you're like, "Ah, I think this might have something to do with the Lost Colony."
Right.
And I too liked the first half of that season better than the second half. I enjoyed the whole thing, but I liked it how they were showing it as like a documentary that they were,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? They were going there to do the investigate the house or whatever it was, or they were going there to make a movie
They
or
were filming
whatever.
the reenactments. It was actually reenactments of what the
Yeah,
story had happened to the
that's
real
right.
people.
And that
And it
was the
was just
first one with,
clever.
oh no, that wasn't the first one with Kathy Bates. That she was in Coven.
Yep, that was the first season for Kathy Bates, was season
Yeah,
3.
that's right. That's
She
right.
played the slave owner, which is the terrible. I was Coven
Yeah.
almost lost me at the very
Hang
beginning
on.
of that first episode because they had all she was tortured the slaves, all of those little crazy things, and I was like, why is everything got to be so
Oh,
terrible? You know what I mean? It was like they went from we just said it. Oh my gosh. Asylum to then I was like, okay, we made it to this season. The cover looks a little bit lighter, and then we get to that first
yeah.
episode, and it was like all this
Oh yeah.
scenes and all that stuff. And I
It's
was like, oh
it's just gonna be some witches. That's it. But
yeah,
what about the dude that with the big bull head thing on? Remember that?
the Minotaur.
Yeah, the Minotaur dude.
Yeah,
Oh man, that
he
was
and he and Precious had a
yeah, precious.
intimate moment.
Yeah, precious.
Yeah,
But I
so
did like, all of those are kind of in the same universe too. The way that they connect those movies too.
oh,
Not
they all do. Like I said, oh sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, like it's not part, like part one, part two, part three. They're not in order. They
Right.
jump around, but I do like how they connect them all together.
Well, that's what I was saying in the beginning. Is the very begin. It was told that this was all nothing was connected. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And each season was going to be its own story. But then as it went on, it did continue and went and there's like different relatives and different things, and this person's connected to this person, or even they'll have other characters come into that season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And make an appearance. The biggest one was Apocalypse.
Yeah. And
American Horror
see,
Story
I got
Apocalypse.
worried, man. I thought that was the last season because they brought it all the way back around to the first one. I was like,
Mhm.
oh man,
Yeah,
but we're getting more. And that's
indeed.
good.
Yeah,
What other series like TV episodic series?
well, there's been so many good ones. There's one that I'll mention. I know I'm going from American Horror Story to this one, but I think this one deserves a place. Supernatural. Have you?
See,
Uh,
now you're gonna think bad about me because I hear this from everybody. I've never watched any episode of Supernatural.
Jason, I will say to you, my friend, there were episodes, and I will admit, it lasted 15 years. It ran 15 years and had a hell of a run. I only gave it 10 seasons of my life, 10 years of my life.
Really?
So there's 5, and I plan to go back, but there's the last 5 years, my DVR messed up one night and it didn't record the first couple episodes of one season, and that was it. I threw in the towel. So I didn't finish it. But there have been some really good. I mean, there was episodes that I watched of that to where I was like, man, I'm getting creeped out. Like I felt like I was watching an actual horror movie at times. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I mean, for those of you who don't know, it's the story of the Winchester brothers, Sam and Dean. They were on the road, and it started off with them actually uh, just going in and they were investigating different things that were like Bloody Mary or like legends, you know what I mean? And as the seasons went on, then they started fighting Lucifer and there was angels
So
involved, demons. It
with
was a
the
good show.
last name Winchester, so does that mean that they're related to Lady Winchester from Winchester House?
That is, unless they brought that up in the last 5 seasons,
I just
that was not a
wondered.
thing. Yeah.
I knew that they were the Winchester brothers, so I was like, huh. I wonder if they're related because that's a whole crazy story with that house
Oh
anyway.
yeah.
So I
Oh
said,
yeah.
wonder if they ever mix that in.
Which they just made a movie about that a few years ago with Helen Mirren.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Part of that place caught on fire about a year or two ago too.
Oh,
Like
did it
part of it
really?
burnt. Yeah,
Which is a
they
horror
were able
show
to save
behind that.
most of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Supernatural has been one that I think if you ever have the time, now it's a lot to dedicate yourself to because, like I said, it lasted 15 years, and this is a network show, so it's like 20 episodes per season. You're not like a,
Ooh,
not like a 8, 10, or
that's
13 episode season,
that's more than
so it,
binging in a weekend right there. It's
oh
like
yeah.
binging in a couple of months.
Yeah, but no, I thought it was really good because, like I said, they have some really classic horror. Some really good horrific stories, as much as they could again on a network television show.
Yeah.
But then I also just liked the banter, and it was witty, and it was pretty funny at times. But I thought that one was a good one. Another one, man, that I thought again that lasted only one season, but I want to give it a shout out was Harper's Island. This was,
I
I
never
thought,
heard of that one.
great show, man. Came out in 2009. Basically, the premise of this show, it was the scene of a gruesome crime, or scene of a gruesome series of murders years ago. Then this wedding is held there with a group of friends, and it's on an island again, Harper's Island. It's on an island, and then everybody's one by one starts to get killed off.
Uh,
And you got to see it though. It's a great whodunit serial killer story. The murders. It was ran on CBS, lasted one season. It was only planned for one season. It was
yeah.
a show. It was a show before that kind of. It was a little ahead of its time because it was like these other shows that came out like afterwards. You know what I mean, like American Horror
Yeah.
Story and stuff. But it was planned for one season. It had a beginning, middle, and end, and it was really good. Starred Katie Cassidy. Really good show, man. I thought that was really good. Another one, and I'm going back here in the well. Another one I thought was really good was The Strain.
Oh, the
Um,
strain was awesome, man.
did you watch that?
Oh yeah,
Yes,
man. Yeah.
yes. Guillermo del Toro was behind it, and we
And
all
that's
know
why I
him.
watched it. That's why I watched it, because I knew he had it.
Yeah, I thought
That-
that was really well done, and it never quite took off the way. I think it had its fans. I mean, you watched it, I watched it. I know a couple other people. Howard Stern, I know, was a huge fan of it because he
Yeah.
would talk about it all the time. But it just didn't come blow up into pop culture. You know what I mean? I think they had big dreams. It lasted 5 years, I think.
Oh, that was on FX too.
It was, and they were able to
Because
push.
yeah, because I think when American Horror Story ended, that one would start. They were kind of like back to back.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I thought.
that was great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that show. And they told it was the tale of what was like a evil strain of vampirism, of course, but under the
Yeah,
guise of a viral outbreak in the very beginning. You know what I mean? So people were
yeah.
being quarantined and all of that stuff.
Oh, it was
So
it was crazy
yeah, I thought that was a really, really
with the
good
little
show.
worms that were in I guess the blood or the milky looking substance. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was
Did you
I
finish it?
really liked him. Oh
You
yeah,
watched the whole series? Yeah.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
was good. The whole thing was good, man.
It really was. And it went through, I didn't read the books. Apparently, it's based on some books. I didn't read them. So I remember it just went further than I thought it would with the nuclear bomb going off in New
Yeah,
York and all that. The boy, the son of the main character, just the turn that he took. It just surprised me all the time. It kept me on my toes. That show did.
I did. I would get so pissed at that little boy, like, because how his mom had been turned, and then
Yeah.
they started using her, and just listen to your dad, dude. Your
Yeah.
mom is no good anymore, and he's like,
Yeah.
mom.
Hmm.
No, it was a great series. If anybody out there hasn't seen that, I would definitely recommend that series, man.
Yeah. Definitely check it out. It's on Hulu. So
It is
please.
on Hulu. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And I'll tell you one that I actually I binge watched both seasons of them. It came out a while back, but I loved Castle Rock, man.
Yes.
I
Castle
thought
Rock was
Castle Rock,
awesome.
me and Stephen King, and the way they tied everything in with the Shawshank prison and all of the things that were happening, man. They, and it starts off and you got Pennywise. It's not Pennywise, but it's the actor from, I can't remember his name. Wait, I can tell you.
Skarsgård.
Yeah, I got it in my
Um,
phone.
it was that the brother of Alexander Skarsgård, Bill
Yeah, Bill.
Skarsgård. Yeah,
But when they showed him like down in that pit, like as soon as I saw that, I said, they've got Pennywise. Well, it wasn't, it was the actor, but
yeah,
just him looking up, I was like, oh my God, they're going all out. And they had like a Saint Bernard named Cujo that went down through there. And
yep.
at one point they show the car, Christine, like driving through it, like down the street, and they tied everything together, man. And they would mention parts of the Stephen King movies or books. It was
One that
cool, man.
one that caught my ear, I guess. I mean, everything you said is correct, but I remember there was one, the girl who'd been in the show for a couple episodes. Um, I guess he didn't realize that her last name was Torrance, or maybe we did. But then she talks about her uncle. What was Jack's name? What was Torrance? Was it Jack?
Jack.
It was
Yeah,
Jack Torrance. Okay, I wasn't
yeah,
confused. I wasn't sure if I was confusing him with just Jack Nicholson. But yeah, she was like, my Uncle Jack went crazy and killed his family and or tried to kill his family in the Overlook Hotel.
yeah.
She made mention of that just in a conversation.
Well, she
You know what
went
I
by
mean?
the
So it's like
name
all these cool little
Jackie.
ties.
She went by the name Jackie in that, but then somebody said, "Wait, I like somebody said her real name," and she said, "Well, I just go by Jackie because my Uncle Jack."
Yeah,
And I was like,
yeah.
"Oh man, the way they tied things into that movie was there was some really smart writing in that."
Now I will say that I have not seen season two. Apparently you have, but they brought the what is her name from
Misery,
Misery. Yeah,
yeah,
wasn't she the main character?
yep, throughout the whole
Yeah,
thing. Yeah, it
yeah.
was good too. It was
And
good.
this is before though she went and Annie. Was her name Annie? It
Yes,
is Annie
Annie,
Wilkes, maybe. Maybe I'm
Annie
making that
Wilkes.
up. Okay.
Yep,
Whew, okay. My brain still works
yep.
from time to time. Yeah.
This is
Um,
before she went up and stayed in a cabin and
gotcha.
did everything which was one of probably the best horror scenes ever recorded. All of his have something like The Shining with the axe going into the door, and then you had this one with Annie. The guy's trying to escape the writer, and she puts that block of wood between his legs and hits it with the sledgehammer. Dude,
You know,
iconic.
in the book, it actually was worse. In the book,
Oh
what she
yeah,
did, she actually cut his foot off. She
yeah.
didn't just break his feet or break his. She actually took
Let's
one of his
see.
feet. Yeah,
Yeah, they
that was
wanted a
horrible.
little bit of a happy ending with it.
I don't know how you can. I don't know which one is.
Yeah, well, he's
I mean, I guess
alive.
that's slightly happier. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, slightly happier. But no, sticking with the Stephen King because you brought up Castle Rock, which again that was also on Hulu and it
yeah.
lasted 2 seasons. I need to jump on that second season. But there was another Stephen King story that was adapted. It was a movie, then it was adapted for a television show. Came on Spike TV back in 2017. The Mist.
Oh, dude, I forgot all about that one, man.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was
I
great
really
too.
did you watch that one? You did.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So I really enjoyed the movie. I thought the movie was really good, and then it
yeah.
had one of the most terrible endings ever. I
I
mean,
know,
terrible,
man.
good ending, but terrible what's happening. Let
If
me
you've
say it
waited
that way.
one minute,
I
one minute,
know. My gosh. Yeah.
that's one thing, and I won't spoil that ending, man, but never give up. If you don't think you're gonna make it out, just die. Go until you actually are either killed in the horror movie or that you just starve to death or you die from the elements of the, you know, just don't go out. Man, I hated that part of that movie, man.
It was horrible. It was, but the show. I was really sad that it only lasted 1 season, but I thought the show was really well done. Also, it was a little different because in the movie everybody was focused on or holed up in a grocery store.
Yeah,
This one was kind of showed different people hold up. Like the mall was the general place, and then they
yeah,
had this one guy trying to get to the mall, kind of going from place to place somehow or something like
yeah,
that. But it was able to tell a different. Obviously, had more time to tell the story. Based, as opposed to being captured in a 2 hour time
yep,
frame. But I thought that was really well done. Also, a lot of these great horror shows that I'm talking about, unfortunately, only last 1 season. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
I don't know
They don't
why
become
either.
popular until they're done. Like I just mentioned a couple that I thought were great, like the Harper's Island. Now we're talking about The Mist.
Well,
And then
for
Castle
what
Rock only got 2 seasons itself.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the what I consider the series that if it wasn't for this series we're going to mention now, you probably wouldn't have a lot of these that we're seeing now. And I'm talking about The Walking Dead.
Yeah, yeah,
They
we
put
talked
it
about
back
that.
out there that your viewers, they want horror shows.
Mm-hmm.
When they first mentioned that they were going to do a zombie apocalypse type series, I was like, cool, man. I hope they do it justice. And from the first episode, it was awesome.
Yes, it was.
It was awesome. I
And
mean,
they
it
fought.
showed just enough gore, but the zombies were perfect. The actors that they brought in, which at first I was like, hey, you talk about that dude from Love Actually, man. It's like, well, you're going to bring somebody like, but he did a great job, man.
Yeah, he really did. And they fought like hell to keep the show the way they wanted it to. I remember they went, I think NBC came close to picking it up, and they
Oh, that would
wanted
have
it
been
to turn
terrible.
into they wanted to turn it into some type of procedural, like like these cops were investigating. So it was just if you ever Google it and see what NBC wanted to do, they wanted to buy the show, but they wanted it under these terms, and they wanted to
Yeah.
change it into almost like a Law and Order with zombies. which makes no
Ka-chung.
sense. Yeah. So then AMC scooped it up, and then they realized what they had on their hands. At one point, they were getting like 15 to 20 million uh, viewers. They've stayed on Sunday nights, debuted on Sunday nights at 9, and it's been there over the past 10 years during its
Yeah.
run, a little over 10 years. And they were, it has fallen in viewers, unfortunately, but that's like any show does. But they at one point they were like beating, multiple network television shows. And this
Yeah.
is AMC. AMC has become more popular now, but back when it started, you know what I mean? That was just a channel that was really known for showing classic films.
Yeah.
And then also known for the Halloween run, that
Yeah.
month of October, to show all those great horror
Yeah.
movies.
30 Days of Fright or whatever. Yeah. Because they
Yeah.
were just American movie classics.
Yeah.
And they just showed old classic movie. Because even when that show, when Walking Dead first came out, pretty much as soon as the show was over, you were watching some like movie from like the 40s or something. But then they did The Talking Dead,
Yep.
like the next year, because it was such a hit, man. They had to, let's talk about this a little bit. And you know what I think the problem is now, with The Walking Dead, is they have too many main characters, and they concentrate all of that, and it goes straight back to George A. Romero. They asked him if he would come on as an honor to everyone and direct, or at least write or direct, have something to do with it. And he said, no, he's not going to do it. He said, because you don't kill off your main characters. And he was exactly right at that time. You have too many main characters. There's too many storylines to follow. You, at the beginning, it was just this group of people, and it was their storyline that you followed. They all were together. You might see one or two go off this way, but it all came back to the same ones. Now you have so many going this way and this way. And if I had my pick, I would have killed Daryl off 8 seasons ago, because he's really not that great of a character. I don't know why everybody thinks Daryl is the greatest character.
And he's actually a character that wasn't even he was
Yeah.
a character created for the show. That was a character that just he wasn't anything from the comic.
Right.
Well, most of these other characters are. Now I got to go back and you and I don't disagree much, but I got to say I kind of disagree with you on what you said about The Walking Dead. I think that show has done a really good job of, okay, maybe you knew Rick was safe,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Yeah.
I thought they've done a good job throughout the years of killing off main characters. I think that this show and Lost in particular, which I guess you could kind of maybe say it was kind of not really a horror show, but it had some horrific things. Those shows really kind of flipped the script, as opposed, because at one point when we were growing up, man, if your name was in front of the title, if that character's name was on the show, if the actor's name was displayed while the show was coming on, or if they were one of the main characters, you always knew that character was going to be safe. No matter what life and death, whatever type of death-defying situations they were going to be in, you knew that MacGyver was going to make his way out of it, or you know what I mean, or whoever, or one of the, and they were going to make their way out. Lost, and then with Walking Dead, I think a lot of those main characters, man, died off, were killed off. So I gotta disagree with you on that.
But if you only had like 2 or 3 main characters, and one of those main characters got killed off, I'd understand that. Well, when you've got 20 main characters, all of them are main characters, then when you lose like 1 or 2, it's, there, it used to be something on The Walking Dead, because that's the show my wife will watch. She came in, I think, in the middle of the 2nd season, and she watches that probably because the Love Actually dude was on it. But I can remember like sitting there, and I like caught on to who was going to get killed. Like when there's a person that just showed up in this season, and you don't see much about him, and then all of a sudden they start showing a show, and he's giving his whole backstory. When I was this, and then all of a sudden, boom, like a bullet out of nowhere, or a zombie attack. It's like, oh, I got it now. Or also when you're watching Talking Dead afterwards, and they say next week on the show we're going to have blah blah blah, and you get like, oh shit, that person's getting killed.
That's true. I will say that. But I guess I agree. But at the same time, if you think about where the show started and all those main characters that were there, there's only 2 left, and that's Daryl
and Carol.
Daryl and Carol.
And they're getting ready. They're going to have their spinoff show, because next year is their last season of The
Yep.
Walking Dead.
And then they'll have their own. Now, you know, it'll be a great thing if we get this show that's based on Daryl and Carol, and then they both get killed off in the second episode. Now, that would be
Oh,
surprising.
that
And
you get me then.
then,
But I heard Negan was going to get a spinoff too.
no, I haven't heard that.
No,
That's interesting. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I hadn't heard that before. So,
if Maggie kills Negan, I'd be pissed
yeah.
because Maggie made her character made me mad, and not the character itself, but the actress, because she got to a point where she was offered another show. You remember that, as a detective or something, and she just left them behind. You know what I mean? Just left them to go do this, and it didn't work out. So she came back to Walking Dead, and now she comes walking out of the woods from some other community or something. And come on, man, Negan, he did what he had to do to survive.
Right.
And who was the bad one? Who started killing people first, man? Rick and them went into that one place and killed a bunch of Negan's people, man.
They did go into Negan's compound and just, yeah, that's it. That is true. That was
the bad decision.
You know what I mean?
It
was. But yeah, man. Oh, I remember when Negan very first came on, though. He had Rick under his thumb. He had him.
Man.
That was terrible to see because Rick was our hero, but he did. But The Walking Dead, I still do enjoy it. I'm watching the spinoffs. I'm watching Fear the Walking Dead, which just wrapped up the series.
Which was probably their best season ever.
Yeah, I thought it was really good too. Just wrapped up the season this past weekend. And then Walking Dead World Beyond.
Yeah, World Beyond. That was cool, but I'm still getting used to the way that they're filming it.
Yeah.
It's filmed totally different from the others, the way they're doing the camera angles and the color and that. I get it now. When it first started, the way they were doing the colors with it, it was just a different way that they were filming it, but it's still a good story. It's still a good story. And
since it's come out, I believe it's only going to get a 2-year run. It's limited.
Yeah.
So the next season will be its last.
That's it?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
It's getting a 2-year run. And then I think this, will obviously tie into where Rick is and all of that stuff. I think these two communities were getting hints and all.
Do you think those girls' dad is dead? I think he's already dead.
You do?
Yeah.
I don't think he's. No, well, they've shown him.
Did they show him?
Yeah, he's there with that other woman, and then come to find out that woman is actually working against him.
Yeah,
or like a double agent network or something like that. She's like, so yeah, he's unless he died at the end of the episode.
See, I think those are flashbacks when they're showing those, because they showed his friend or whatever in a picture with him or whatever, and then they showed his friend and he was inside of that whatever it was where they were doing the experiments on him. He was already turned.
Right. I don't know. We will see. But the cool thing about that is filmed right down the road from us here in Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah. Yeah. We could probably I think they had casting calls for that. We could have gone down and, I would have just gone down and said, hey, I've already got some stars and I'll let you borrow them.
A mutual friend of ours, well, that would be great. I would we'll negotiate a deal and see what they want to see. Or, what?
Yeah.
If they're worth my time.
Yeah. You might get paid for that one.
Exactly. A mutual friend of ours, Tom Stewart, his niece was one of the zombies or one of the walkers in there.
That we've already seen.
Yeah, she was prominently featured. She was down in Richmond and got to be cast on the role or cast on that as a walker.
That's awesome.
It was kind of cool to see her. You couldn't recognize her at all. She was pretty
of course
decomposed, but it was really cool. She got to be on that. So yeah, man. So the Walking Dead's obviously been really cool. So I'm going to also segue into a different zombie show. One, I didn't watch Z Nation. I never did watch that.
I tried, man. I couldn't get into it.
I did too, and it just seemed maybe it was the low budget or whatever it was. It was weird. So I think I don't even know if I finished the whole first episode of it. But what I am watching, and what I'm really enjoying, is the prequel to Z Nation, Black Summer.
I haven't watched that. I know what you're talking about, but I haven't watched that.
Yeah, season 2 comes out this week.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just saw that season 2 is coming out.
Yeah, man, jump on that. Season 1 I thought was really, really good.
And it's a prequel to that.
It's a prequel to Z Nation. Again, I didn't watch Z Nation, but this looks totally different. It's got a Netflix budget. You know what I mean? It is. It's just done differently. I like you. I could not get into Z Nation at all.
No.
But I think this one's really well done. It's a prequel to it. These are fast zombies. These zombies will be on you, man, in a
I
heartbeat.
don't like the fast zombies, man. I like the walking zombies. That's what
It
I
makes you feel
like.
like you got a chance on those walking
Yeah.
zombies. You know what I mean? The fast zombies, they don't get tired, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. Like what was World War Z? Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, dude. No, that would be terrible, just terrible.
Yeah.
Um,
What? Hey, you talked about the casting, like with Tommy's niece.
yeah,
When they first started talking about they were taking casting calls, you could come down there and try to be one. I had a bunch of people tell me about that, and I was like, dude, do I look like a walker? I mean, you know what I mean? It's like all these people are like in really good shape because they haven't, they're dead
right.
walking. And I'm gonna be, everybody would be like, that must be the king of the walkers because he looked like he's been eating good, man.
Right.
Yeah, it might have gotten me a good starring role, like a couple of episodes coming
You
back.
never know, man. See, you
Like,
got to take your shot, Jason,
yeah,
when it's there. You
we
don't
got to
just
kill the king.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, man. So no, well then, but if you so yeah, I would recommend Black Summer to you, man. Jump on that.
I'll check it
Another
out.
yeah, another great horror show, which you and I actually reviewed it not too long ago. So it's only been one season so far, but it's going to be another anthology. So we won't spend a lot of time on it. But I thought Them was a
Oh
great
yeah,
first season for a horror show that dealt with real world, racism
yeah.
and stuff like that, but also the supernatural aspect. And I thought there was some really creepy scenes in that as well.
Yeah, that's I thought that had some plenty of gore in it too. And it
Mhm.
was a great story, but that's also like you were just saying with the racism that it's in it, it's hard to watch some of that, man. And not
Yeah,
because it's scary. What
right,
not because it's something bad, some demon or a ghost or whatever. It's scary in a different way. Just to
right.
know that's you know what I mean, man.
I do know what you mean.
That bothered me a lot of those parts, man.
It was very uncomfortable and hard to watch. But yeah, I thought that was worth a mention because I think that was a great first season, and hopefully,
Yeah,
much like American Horror Story, will continue to give us
I hope
more and
so.
more good stories from that as well. But now, man, I mean, we've talked a lot. Do it, and then I'd be remiss and hate myself if I didn't mention this show. I know you've never watched it, but because it has horror aspects to it, I have to mention Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Well,
I have
it,
to. There was some really creepy. The Gentleman. If you don't watch any, Jason, do this for me, man. Don't watch any other. Go find season 4, episode Hush, and just watch that episode alone, guys. If you see the show, you know what I'm talking about. The Gentleman. The Gentleman. They are these creepy things that just kind of glide across the floor, and they just are. They're the things of nightmares, my friends.
season
And
4.
season 4 episode is called Hush. Look for it on Hulu, man.
All right. Well, all I'm gonna say though, dude, if you're mentioning Buffy, then I'm definitely coming out with Charmed because Charmed was great.
I I
It
I
I liked Charmed, but I'm not. Yeah, I would never put that up on the list.
Charmed was good. I will tell you this. I will put it out there too. I watched the first 3 seasons, but once Shannon Doherty was killed, I could not roll with Rose McGowan for no, not because of that, but sometimes I just have a hard time with change. And
Yeah,
the Hollowell sisters were the charmed ones, and then without Prue, it wasn't the same when they
yeah.
brought in oh my god, Paige. Then when they
And
brought in
we're talking about the original Charmed, not the one that they just redid because
yeah,
I
which
don't
I've
even
never
know how
seen.
that. Yeah,
I've never seen that, but
no, because I was younger then, and now if I watched the new Charmed, I would feel like an old pervert.
right.
There's a
Yeah, but so I would actually have to argue though, Jason. We don't disagree much, but that Buffy was more of a horror show than Charmed was. You know what I mean? I watched both. Buffy was just a better show in general. I have to give it to him.
uh,
But I just had to give that a shout out. Joss Whedon, of course, we all know I was a huge fan of his writing and directing. I don't know if I guess you can still be a fan of the work, not the
yeah.
man, considering everything that's come out about him now. But he was just a fantastic writer, and so his wit and stuff like that behind the show was really good.
What about Vampire Diaries or True Blood?
I did watch both of those. Sad to say, no, but I wouldn't. To me, True Blood was good. Oh, suck it, Stackhouse.
Yeah,
Suck
that
it.
was that was like a soft porn horror movie.
It was, man. Anna Paquin was getting unrobed, disrobed in that show
I've never
every
seen
week.
any of them.
Oh, you never watched True Blood?
Yeah, just
Oh,
the
okay.
parts of them
just
late at night.
just
Yeah,
clips,
just
right? Just
clips.
different scene. Yeah.
Yeah. We say it's
No,
about vampires. I don't know. I didn't see.
no, I thought True Blood was good. I thought Vampire Diaries was good, but both of those, in my opinion, were just. I mean, True Blood had more of a range to do what they wanted because it was on HBO.
Yeah.
But both of those shows owe a debt of gratitude, in my opinion. Even Charmed, I got to say, owe a debt of gratitude to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Without Buffy the Vampire Slayer, there would have been no Charmed. There would have been no
Probably not.
Vampire Diaries. There would be no Supernatural. There just
What
wouldn't have been.
What about Dark Shadows?
Well, Dark Shadows was a soap opera.
Yeah.
And
My
it was
mother used to
Artemis
watch that back
Collins.
in like the 70s or whatever. I remember
Yeah.
that.
Well,
And she was like,
Artemis
"Don't watch
Collins.
this. It's scary. It's scary." I was like, "Really?" I
There's
just
been a couple
finished
different.
watching The Exorcist.
So that was a soap opera that ran. I think it was a daytime
Yeah.
soap opera, and then they
Yeah.
tried to come back out in the '80s for on
And I
Friday
did
nights.
watch the one on the 80s, and that came
Yeah,
out in the
but that
80s.
didn't last very long. I think maybe 8
No, but I
episodes.
liked it, man.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I'm not
then
saying
they
it was
had,
bad.
then they had the Johnny Depp movie,
Yeah, Tim
Dark
Burton.
Shadows. Yeah,
Yeah, Tim Burton directed that.
which
That
was
was supposed
good,
to be.
funny.
I think that was supposed to kick off a whole new trilogy of films also, but it just didn't do well. Unfortunately, I think that was unfortunate at the beginning of Johnny Depp's
Yeah.
downfall. With then after that he was followed by the Lone Ranger. His movies weren't quite the
Oh yeah,
surefire hits as they once
yeah.
were.
It's all right.
But I still
Tim,
enjoyed Dark Shadows. I still
Tim
enjoyed it.
Burton's still making movies. He's still got a shot. I can tell you that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And I guess one of the bigger horror shows that has horror aspects to it, I think that's been really good, has been Stranger Things.
Great. And you probably like me, one of the main things I love about that show is that takes place. Those kids are the ages we would have been at that time.
Yeah.
Well, you're a little bit younger than me, but maybe a year, but that's why I like it, because it takes place in the 80s, the early 80s. And, that's what we were doing at that time, man, when they're playing those video games. And,
Yeah, it was great. I love that show. Looking forward to season 4, whenever that does drop. I know it's supposed to have been this summer, but
they're going to be like 30 years old by the time that thing comes out. They're going to be like beards and gray hair, and like, come on, man, hurry up.
I know, right?
Do you think people are going to lose interest?
No, I think if anything, the weight has probably grown. The want for it, the need for it. You know what I mean? People are probably going through Stranger Things withdrawals. So yeah, I don't think people will lose interest. I think when it comes back, I think the way it left and the cliffhanger.
It's been 2 years, almost 2 years to the day, because I can remember 2 years ago for the 4th of July, my wife and my youngest son, they went to my in-laws to watch them. My older kids, the twins, they went to Kings Dominion to watch the fireworks. I stayed home, and because Stranger Things was coming out July 4th, and I had even bought Stranger Things had this some kind of thing going on where you could buy new Coke, the old new Coke. So I bought them, man. I bought, like, it came with 2 of them and a couple of classic Cokes, but I had 2 new Coke cans, and that was what I was going to do for the 4th of July, man. I grilled me a good steak, some lobster tails. Me and my dog enjoyed ourselves. And then, I started binging Stranger Things, drinking a new Coke.
Sounds like a hell of a good night to me, my friend.
And it was a great episode. The whole season, I binged it right there, man, all the way to the end. And just that they were, at the end, they're singing the song from
Never Ending Story.
Yeah, the Never Ending Story.
Yep.
Like, dude, how perfect, man.
It really was. It was some great stuff.
That's great writing, man.
Yeah, man. So no, I think those have been some really good horror shows, in my opinion. Now, going through this, there's so many more out there too that I realized I need to watch. Channel Zero, I think, is supposed to be really, really good. There's one called Slasher, that
I
that's
watched
on
Slasher.
Netflix. You did?
I've watched 2 seasons of it.
And that's a kind of an anthology too, right? Each season's its own separate story. And what do you think?
I like the first one. The second one was okay, but that's as far as I went in it.
Okay, I think it's only 3 seasons, right? Got another season left, maybe. So that's on my list. Maybe only season 1 now, since based on your review, I'll only watch season 1. And there's a couple more that I realized that going through it, as I was putting my little thinking about horror shows and stuff that I was like, oh, there's so many out there that I
Yeah.
haven't watched. Now, I did one that I haven't mentioned too. I thought was really good, The Haunting of Hill House.
Oh yeah.
I watched the very first season. I have not seen season
I've
2.
I've watched both, and I think the second one's better. So make sure you watch the second one.
Really? See, that's
Yes,
great to
sir.
hear, Jason. People I've heard from that thought season 2 was like not that great.
Oh
But
no, I thought it was
that's
way
not why I
better.
haven't watched it. I just haven't watched it. But I will
Yeah.
definitely check it out now based on what your word is alone, my friend.
Well, if you're like me, I can't watch one episode, man. I'm gonna at least watch half the season, if not the whole season, man. I
Yeah,
love just binging them, just because I can't take that waiting, man. I can't take
right.
that. That's why I like the stuff that comes out like on Hulu or Netflix, things like that. That they show them, every episode right at once. And
Yep.
there's some of what I think on Prime they show like no Prime let all of them out at the same time, didn't they? Yeah.
I think everybody's experimenting and doing things different. Netflix definitely dropped everything all at once.
Yeah, I love that, man.
Hulu, but it depends on the show. Like I know,
And
for instance, that one that's on. I don't watch it, but I guess people could even call this a horror story, The Handmaid's Tale.
I haven't
That's
watched that
released
one yet.
on. That's released on. I haven't either, but that's released on a weekly basis. But then there's
Yeah.
some Hulu shows that are all dropped at one time. I think
Oh,
it's
it's
case by case.
Disney Plus. They don't do them all at one time.
No, they don't do them all at once either. No, you're right.
No.
They definitely. But I
Yeah.
mean, but even Amazon Prime and Hulu, they do go back and forth. Some shows they
Okay.
release all at once. Like them on Amazon Prime was released all at once, but The Boys on Amazon Prime is released weekly. So it's just different.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Yeah,
okay. All right. Yeah.
they
Then
do it
that's
differently.
yeah.
Well,
Cool,
cool,
man.
man.
Yeah. That's a. I think that's pretty good, man. For a. I know there's a lot more out there, but we'll get to them at some point.
Yeah, for sure. Now I
Yeah.
think we covered quite a bit, man. We've run the gamut.
Yeah. Well,
We've
you
run the
gave me
gamut from the
something to watch, and I gave you a couple of things to check out. So
For sure, man. For sure. I think yours are I definitely want to check out Slasher. I've always wanted to watch that.
don't be
And now I'll
surprised
watch The Haunting of
if
Hill House season 2.
yeah, don't be surprised if the next time we talk, I come in and say, "Man, I watched that season 4, Hush, and I've been binging every Buffy the Vampire Slayer."
Dude, I'm telling you, man. I think if that show had just been called Slayer, I mean, even
Yeah,
though it was nominated for a couple Emmys, people in every season that show came out, it was always in like Entertainment Weeklies or TV Guides, top like whenever they would do top 10 shows of the
yeah.
year. Buffy the Vampire Slayer never failed to be in the top 10
Well, I've
every year.
had several people that when they mentioned Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I say, "Are you talking about the movie or the series?" And they say, "There was a movie."
Yeah,
Like,
because
yeah,
the movie, I actually saw the movie in the theater years ago. Was it Christy Swanson and Luke Perry? I think
yeah,
were the stars, and David Arquette and Ben Affleck were in it
yep.
as David in small roles too. You know what I mean? That was
Mhm.
like one of Ben Affleck's first movies or something. Anyway, but just real quick, nobody cares about this, but I'll say it. Joss Whedon fought hard with the movie studio. They twisted and turned his movie into more of a comedy. You know what I mean?
Sure.
The movie did, and so when he was able to do the show the way he wanted to do the show. You know what I mean? And it was more along the lines of his true vision that he had seen. But man, I'm telling you, it is. I know. I always said that if it had been called Slayer, then I think it would have. I mean, it was a hit. It was a huge hit. It ran for 7 seasons. It left on its own terms and everything like that. But I just feel like if it was called Slayer, people might have taken it more seriously early on. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And maybe just
yeah,
checked it out instead of calling it Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
yeah.
But it was one of my favorite shows. Anyway, leave it on a high note, right?
Yeah. Way to end it, man.
I know, right?
Yeah. Alice, what do you think of Buffy this? Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe she'll watch
Alice,
it.
you're with me. Yeah, come on,
Yeah.
Alice.
She
Check it out with
likes it.
Jason. Please
Yeah.
do.
Look at that look she's giving me. I can tell that she, yeah.
Giving you a side eye. Giving you a side.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not gonna say anything else about her tonight.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man. Great episode, Lee. This was a
Good
good one,
man.
man.
I really enjoyed it, man. We talked about some good stuff. Looking forward to the next one, guys. We really appreciate you all watching the show.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Last show we hit what over 3,000
Almost
views, I
yeah.
think, close
Yeah.
to it at least, which is I think was pretty awesome. So we really appreciate it, guys. Just let us know your feedback again. We're here to help talk to you, talk about what you
Yeah.
want us to talk about. give us some topics, and we'll, give us some ideas, and we'll see what we can do. But we really appreciate you guys watching.
Yeah, if you want Lee to go into like a scary house and just stay by himself overnight with nothing but a camera, we'll do that.
I will listen
Right?
to the suggestion for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The suggestion will be listened to. Not sure it will be carried out, but it will be listened to.
Yeah, yeah. We'll at least acknowledge that you left a
Yeah,
comment. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
All right, man. Until next time, Lee.
Later, my friend. Alice.